Welcome. I'm Anna Siepert. I'm a Cambridge English Language Specialist, and I have SJ here with me today, and we are talking today about how you can ace your speaking test. By that we mean how you can do really well in your speaking test. Now, SJ will be acting as my student today, and she will be answering questions that are posed to her, and we will all together look at her answers and decide if she's doing well or how she could improve. And hopefully this will be helpful for you when you prepare for your speaking test. So with waiting for a few more people to join us this morning.
I'm not a Cambridge English qualifications expert, but so I work behind the scenes mostly. I'm doing Facebook and stuff like that. So I'm supporting Anna. So Anna's the expert. So, you know, I might do or say things that are wrong, but
I will correct you, and hopefully this will be helpful for you. So welcome again to all of you who have joined us. We are running a session today called How to Ace Your Speaking Test. My name is Anna Siepert, and I'm a Cambridge English Language Specialist, and I have SJ here with me, who is acting as my student, and she will help me explain to you how you can improve your speaking. Now, all the examples we're using today are from our first exam, which is our B2 level exam. But don't worry, all the examples will be useful for all of our exams, any level. And they will even be useful just if you want to improve your speaking, if you're not preparing for an exam. Now, we will put the link up. Actually, we've just put the link up for you, so you can see where we've taken the questions from if you are interested in that. Now, we're here this morning in sunny Cambridge. It is cold but beautiful. Why don't you tell us where you're watching us from this morning? So if you say hi in the comments box and just tell us where you are. Look, we have Aya joining us who says she can't wait. Well, that's great. And oh, look, Norma, a teacher, is here with all her students. That's fantastic. Hi, Norma. We are sitting in sunny Cambridge, and we're wondering where you are from. So if you want to tell us in the comments box, we would love to see where people are watching us from. Can we see anybody there?
We have Nicola in Italy.
Nicola in Italy, okay.
Alexander from Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo, Argentina, we can see. We've got people from Argentina.
in Istanbul.
Azad, hello, Azad from Istanbul.
I can see as well that we're starting to get questions like what is the difference between speaking and writing. Mm-hmm. We will be having a question and answer session at the end of the Facebook Live after we've done our presentation. So if you have any questions, please continue to add them on Facebook. We have Liz, who is our colleague. She's on the other side of the screen. You can't see her. So she's monitoring the session and taking notes and stuff like that.
Now, all the questions we'll be dealing with today are purely about speaking. Okay, this is a session on speaking and how to improve your speaking and how to do well in the speaking test. So all the questions we're answering today are about speaking. If you have any other questions, we won't be able to deal with them today. Now, I've just seen we've had lots of people from Greece. We have Peter from Vietnam. We have somebody from Peru. Argentina, Moscow, Spain, Iraq, Izmir, Seville, India, Brussels. Hello, Hakan from Brussels. That's really fantastic. A really international crowd we've got here with us this morning. That's wonderful. So just for everybody who's just joined us now, I'm Anna Siepert. I'm a Cambridge English Language Specialist, and I'll be talking to you today about tips how to improve your speaking and how to do well in your speaking test. And I've got SJ here with me, who will be acting as my student. I will be asking her questions and she will answer them, and we can all learn together how to do well in the speaking test using her examples. Hi, Win from Vietnam. Nice to see you here. Are we ready to start? Yes? Okay, so. Great. Well, let's get going then. So, SJ, I have a question here for you. Just answer it as best as you can. And everybody watching, please just type in the comments box, well, what do you think? Is SJ doing a good job? So SJ, question number 1. Do you prefer to spend time on your own or with other people? Why?
Well, I prefer to spend time on my own rather than with other people because I like my own time, and I find other people quite distracting, and I prefer my own company.
Okay, thank you, SJ. Okay, thank you. What did you think of that? Okay, does anybody have any comments? So I asked SJ, do you prefer to spend time on your own or with other people? Why? And SJ gave her answer. Now, what do you think? How did she do? Yeah, I agree. I think it was very, very difficult to hear you, SJ. I could barely understand what you were saying. So that is the first and perhaps the easiest top tip. You need to speak up in your speaking exam. If the examiner can't hear you very well, they can't give you a response, give you a good mark. So it's important to speak loudly and clearly, and not to speak like this so nobody can really hear you. Okay, so sorry, SJ, but that wasn't a fantastic answer. Now, I know some of you are probably a little bit nervous about your test, or maybe you are shy. So there are ways that you can practice, and one way is to just simply practice at home in front of a mirror. Okay, so just sit up, straight shoulders, deep breath, and then speak, and make sure that you can be easily heard. And you can practice with a friend, you can ask a teacher to give you feedback, but speak up and speak loudly and clearly, because that's the only way you're going to get a good mark in the speaking test, if the examiner can hear you. So an easy first tip, speak up. Now, are we ready to move on to question number 2, SJ?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all of you, I would like you to listen carefully and tell us whether you think SJ is giving a good answer, and you can type your ideas into the comments box. So SJ, question number 2. Do you normally celebrate special occasions with friends or with your family? Why?
Right. I normally would celebrate, I would normally spend special occasions with my family, things like New Year, Christmas, big events with my family. But because I live quite far away from my family, I don't spend smaller things like birthdays. So I would usually spend those with my friends or colleagues. Like, for example, I recently had yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you, SJ. Okay, so what did you think? What did you think of SJ's answer? Can you type in your questions and we can see what you're saying? Yeah, somebody saying proficient speaking. Yeah, I agree. That was a nice beginning of an answer. What else are using fillers? Yes, SJ did use fillers. So that was she did very well there. Any other thoughts? What did SJ do at the end there? Yeah, she does enjoy celebrating with her family. That's right. Any other thoughts? Okay, I think at the end, I think you wanted to tell me something else, didn't you?
I did. I did want to say something else, but the thing is, I forgot what the word was. What I wanted to say, which I remember now, what I really wanted to say was I got a promotion at work, and I had celebrated with my colleagues.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I thought you wanted to say something else, and and you forgot the word promotion. Okay, well, this can happen. This could happen to any of us. We forget a word. What's really important is that you don't do what SJ is. Don't stop talking and say, "Oh, I'm sorry." Just express the same idea with different words. So we call this paraphrasing, and that's our next top tip. Learn how to paraphrase. So what SJ could have said is, well, I recently got a better job within my work, and I got more responsibility and more money, and that was a cause for celebration. So I went out with my colleagues. See, I didn't use the word promotion there because I couldn't remember the word promotion. SJ couldn't remember the word promotion. So I just explained the concept of promotion in my own words. And that is very, very important when you do your speaking test, that you don't worry if you can't think of a word in that moment, but you just use different words to explain the idea, okay? And do not stop talking. That's the most important thing. Do not stop talking. Keep speaking and don't say, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, SJ. Okay. Now, how do we practice paraphrasing? There are many different ways, but one easy way is by playing a little game. And I prepared...
not supposed to see one.
No, you're not looking at mine.
Yeah.
I prepared a little game for me and SJ to play here, so we can demonstrate this for you.
So you show yours, I'll look away.
Yeah. So
okay.
I made a list of words. Now you can make a list of words that you have learned recently or that you maybe are prone to forgetting. Okay, so this is my list. It's just a little example. And SJ has a different list, which I don't know. Okay, and then all you do is you choose a word from your list and you explain it to your friend. Now, you are not allowed to say the word on the list, and you're not allowed to say directly related words. Okay, so let me start.
Okay.
Yeah? Right, so so this is an object. You usually put it on the wall.
Right.
It is usually square or rectangular, and it might have a photo in it.
Is it a picture?
Is
it a picture frame?
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Well
right.
done.
Okay.
Go on.
So I'm looking at my word. All right. It's a toy, and young children usually have one.
Okay.
It's soft and furry.
Oh, is it a teddy bear?
Yes, it is a teddy bear.
Great. So you can play this with your friends. And what about if you don't have a friend to play this game with? Well, here's a solution for you. You just play it by yourself. You can do it in your head. You don't even need a pen or a paper. You can just think of a word, an English word, and just in your head, how would you say it if you had forgotten it? You know, how would you explain this? So if you're sitting on the bus going to school, see how many words can you get through? You know, can you do 10 words?
Yeah. If you're in the shower, you
if you're in the shower, you can do it in the shower.
In the bath,
you can do it while cooking dinner. You can do it at any time. Okay, in your head, try paraphrasing. You'll get more confident, and you get more used to it, and it will really, really help you in your speaking exam, and it will help you with speaking generally, because we all do this in our own languages all the time. I am very certain that all of you do this in your native language. So this is just something that you need to get used to in English as well. So that's our second top tip. Learn how to paraphrase. Learn how to say things in different words, using different words. So I can just see that we've had quite a few new people join us. So welcome to everyone who has just joined us. My name is Anna Siepert. I'm a Cambridge English language specialist, and I'm talking to you today about how to do really well in your speaking test. And I have SJ here with me, who's a colleague and who has kindly agreed to act as my student. And I'm asking her questions, she's answering, and we're working out together how she could improve and how you could improve and do better in your speaking test. Now, the 2 tips we have looked at so far is, number 1, speak loudly and clearly so the examiner can hear you. And number 2, learn how to paraphrase or how to say things in your own words. Now, SJ, are you ready for question number 3?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You're doing very well. So what do you think is the biggest advantage of living in a place where there are a lot of tourists? It's a big question. Shall I ask it
Yes,
again.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
so everybody can hear. What do you think is the biggest advantage of living in a place where there are a lot of tourists? Now, everybody watching, type in how you think SJ is doing with her answer.
Okay, so, well, a lot of people go to the museum here, and the museum here is great. It's really big, and it's got all sorts of things. In fact, there are lots of museums here, and two of my favorites are the Fitzwilliam Museum and the one on Downing Street. But it's got, I cannot remember the name of the museum at the moment, but it's got lots of dinosaurs and dinosaur bones, and I love taking my daughter there, and we have a great time going around all the bones and looking at all the little displays. And I have a great interest in paleontology. And so I read up quite a lot about the subject.
Okay, thank you, SJ. Thank you. Well, that was a very thorough answer. What does everybody think? How did SJ do? Now, I asked her, what do you think is the biggest advantage of living in a place where there are a lot of tourists? Somebody said, it's not accurate. I wonder if, it's not accurate. That's correct. It was a lovely answer to a different question.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I asked you about the biggest advantage of living in a place with a lot of tourists. Yes, no advantage has been mentioned. That's right, Maria. She out of topic. Yeah, it's off topic. You didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question.
Right.
What a shame, because you gave a lovely answer, but you needed to actually answer the question. So the top tip number 3 is listen to the question and stay on topic.
Okay, so if we listen to the question again was, what do you think is the biggest advantage of living in a place where there are a lot of tourists?
That's right.
Fortunately, it kind of threw me a bit because I couldn't think of what to say.
Okay. Now that is a common problem, and maybe one that you have experienced too, where your teacher has asked you a question and you think, oh, that's, I don't really know very much about that topic. What do I say? So, well, you can't ask for a different question in the speaking exam. And we do make sure that we ask questions where we think, well, we don't just think, we test it, we trial it. We know that everybody can say something about this topic. But you may need to learn some phrases that will give you a little bit of time to think about the question. So things you can say are, well, let me think, or that's an interesting question. Let me think about that for a minute. Or you can rephrase the question again. So you could say, what do I think are the biggest advantages of living in a place with a lot of tourists? Well, I think. Or you can even say that this is not a topic that you know very much about. So you can say, well, actually, I don't live in a place where there are a lot of tourists. So I'm not really sure, but I would imagine that it might be quite nice to live in a place with a lot of tourists because I would get to meet people from all over the world. So you just have to get a little bit creative. You have to remember that you get assessed on your language. You don't get assessed on your ideas. You don't have to have brilliant ideas, okay?
So
yes, go on.
I was just going to interject. So you could actually say that, what if I couldn't see any advantages?
Well, if you really can't think of any advantages, you can say that. You can say, well, honestly, I cannot think of any advantages of living in a place with a lot of tourists, because personally, I find that it means a place is really overcrowded and too expensive. Okay, yeah. You're still then talking about the topic, and you're not talking about going to a museum. So that's the difference. You're still talking about the topic, and you can give your honest opinion. But if you don't really have a strong opinion, just imagine one. Just think of the situation. What do you feel? but also learn how to say some phrases to buy you time. That's our next top tip. Oh, SJ has already put it up, I think. Yes. So you need to learn some little phrases such as, let me think. That's an interesting question. Let me think about it.
I think you've said before that you can actually repeat the question to buy yourself time if you don't really, not really sure.
Yes, you can sort of, better would be to rephrase it a little bit. So to say, well, what do I think are the biggest advantages of living in a place with lots of tourists are? What is my opinion about that? So rephrase it a little bit, repeat it. Now, you can also ask the examiner to repeat the question. If you didn't, especially if it's a long question and maybe you didn't immediately sort of get all the parts to it, that's absolutely fine. You don't lose marks because of this. But please note, the examiner will ask you the exact same question. They will not paraphrase it for you. They will not ask you in a different way, because that way we ensure that our exams are very fair, because everybody gets asked the exact same question. So, SJ, are we ready to move on to question number 4?
Maybe we should say to all the new people that's just joined us.
Okay.
What we're here for.
Yes.
If you've just joined us, this is a session with Anna Siepert, who is a Cambridge Qualifications English language specialist. And we are talking about tips. She's giving her best tips on how to do well and practice for your speaking test. Where are the questions you're asking coming from?
The questions that I'm asking, they're all coming from our first exam, which is our B2 level exam. But we're just using them as examples, and you can find these tips hopefully useful for any exam that you're preparing for. So even if you're preparing for advanced, proficiency, preliminary, key, all these tips will be useful for you. But the questions we're using, they're from our first exam, and you can find those questions in the sample paper on our website, and we've just put the link up there for you. So if you are particularly preparing for first, or if B2 is your level, then check out the link that we put up there. Now, SJ is here because she has agreed to act as my student, and she is answering questions that I'm asking her, and we are together, you and me, all of you watching and me, we're together working out whether her answers are good or not, or how she could improve. And hopefully that will help you prepare for your speaking test. So let's move on to question number 4 then. SJ, can you tell us about a festival or a celebration in the place where you live?
Okay. A festival or a celebration in the place that I live, which is Cambridge. Mm-hmm. We recently celebrated the 5th of November, which is Bonfire Night. And what we go to it every year, just about, me and my family. So on Bonfire Night, a bonfire is lit in a park, and everybody comes together, and we eat. We usually eat, drink, it's a general gathering of people to see a bonfire, and it's a very big bonfire, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, what did you think of this answer? How did SJ do? I asked her, tell us about a festival or a celebration in the place where you live. And SJ told me about Bonfire Night, which she recently celebrated here in Cambridge. And actually, I was there too, but I didn't see you.
No, it's very big.
Yeah, it is very big. It's very big. So does anybody have any thoughts? I mean, I can give you my thoughts. I didn't think it was a terrible answer, but oh yes, a lot of hesitation. I agree. I think it could be better, because we can always improve. I did notice you did say bonfire quite a few times. I mean, I know it's called Bonfire Night and there is a bonfire, so you're bound to say the word, but there was quite a bit of repetition there. And there was quite a lot of hesitation. And I felt you could have just given a lot more detail. You know, really, I didn't learn very much apart from that this is a celebration, there is a bonfire and people go. But I know, because I've been there, I know there's a lot more that happens. So I think you can give more information, really show off your vocabulary.
Okay.
And also try not to repeat yourself. So should we just, I just said try not to repeat yourself, but should we just repeat this question? Give it another go?
Yes.
Okay. So SJ, tell us about a festival or celebration in the place where you live.
A celebration or festival in the place that I live, well, that would be in Cambridge. And very recently, we celebrated Bonfire Night, which is a festival that is celebrated throughout the UK. And it's celebrated on the 5th of November. And I always remember it because one of the things I learned very early on was this little rhyme, which went, remember, remember the 5th November. There's a whole history behind it, which I won't go into now. But the festival itself, it takes place at night because that's when they light the bonfire. Mm-hmm. And then there's usually a fair that accompanies it. The bonfire itself is usually in a park. Lots of people come to it, and they usually bring their friends and families. Some people will bring picnics, so they'll share food and drinks. And more often than not, there's usually a fair where you can buy things and there'll be sparklers and lights. But the best thing about it, my daughter loves it, is actually the fireworks that go on after that. And that goes on for about 20 minutes or so, and everybody has a great time.
Okay, well, I thought that was an absolutely fantastic answer.
Well,
top marks for that. So I hope you all noticed how much more vocabulary SJ used there, how much more detail she gave. We found out about the fair, about the fireworks, about what her daughter enjoys. You know, you made it personal, which is you can do that. You know, that's a great way of giving more detail and giving more information. If you can sort of make a personal link, you don't have to, but you can do that. So I think that was wonderful. Now, I'm sure it was also easier for you, SJ, because you had already answered the question, mm-hmm. and then you answered the same question again, which of course in the exam that doesn't happen. In the exam you have one chance and that's it. But today we're talking about practicing for the exam. So I think this is something that all of you should be doing at home. You should ask yourself a question and answer it, and then do it again and again. And one really great way of doing that is by using a voice recorder on your phone. So you record yourself, you listen back, you really are critical of your answer and say, did I use a lot of good vocabulary there? Was there a lot of hesitation? Did I repeat myself all the time? And then answer the same question again, record yourself again, and see if you've improved. And you can do this 10 times if you want to with the same question. Now, SJ is going to show us how to do it on your smartphone.
So I have an Android phone, which I'm sure and I don't think it matters whether you have an Android or a Mac.
Yeah.
But basically, there are lots of apps, voice recorder apps, and they're usually free to use. I've got one here. So what I'm going to do is just going to record myself. Hi, this is SJ. I am practicing English and I am talking to myself, and I sound a bit silly, but that's okay. So I'm going to stop that there, and I'm going to play it back. When it's ready.
Okay. An advert has just popped up on the
right.
Okay, and there it is.
All right.
Yeah, there you are.
Celebrations in Cambridge and all sorts of fun things that I get to talk about. And I can stop it.
Very good. Okay, so that was SJ recording herself, and you can do, of course, the same at home. So make sure you either download a voice recording app, or I know some phones have already got them on there somehow. So look through your apps and start recording yourself. Listen back. Don't just record yourself. Listen back. Analyze what you said. think about how and what you could improve. And you can also do this. I know a lot of you use WhatsApp. You can also do this on WhatsApp, send it to your friend and ask your friend for some feedback. Why not? You can help each other out. And but the important thing really is to do it again and again. Don't be afraid of repetition. Do the same question again and again until you really feel, wow, that was a fantastic answer. Like SJ's second answer, which was so good, where you think, I cannot improve on this anymore.
Okay, so the thing is, the reason why I've interrupted, because our top tip actually says avoid repetition.
Yeah,
but by repeating the topic again, by practicing, you actually get better and become more fluid at something.
Yes. Sorry, we didn't mean to confuse you. So we mean avoid repetition. Don't say the same word over and over again. But repeat practicing. Okay, that's positive repetition.
Yes.
So thanks for clarifying this, SJ.
So avoid repetition in your answer,
Yeah.
but do repeat practicing the same topic.
Yes, that's really, really helpful. And it's a very easy way. You can do it at home by yourself. You don't need any really special equipment or anything. You can just do it. Now, for everyone who is just joining us now, my name is Anna Siepert. I'm a Cambridge English Qualification Specialist, and I'm here with my colleague SJ, who is acting as my student today. And we're talking to you about how you can improve your speaking and how you can do really well in your Cambridge Assessment English speaking tests. And we've covered a few top tips so far.
The first one was speak up.
Mm-hmm. Speak loudly and clearly so the examiner can hear you.
And if you can't remember a particular word, paraphrase.
Exactly. So just say it in your own words.
Mm-hmm. Answer the question. So listen to the question and answer the question.
Exactly. Stay on topic. Don't start talking about something else. Okay. Listen very carefully. Stay on topic. The next tip was use some phrases to buy you time. So if you can't think of a good answer straight away, you say, well, let me think about that. Or, that's a really interesting question. Let me think how I could answer this.
Or it's not a topic I know very much about it, so I let me think about this a little bit more.
That's great. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. And then the last tip we've just discussed now is avoid repetition in your answer, but do practice by repeating the same answer again and again.
Yeah,
or the same
topic
again and again. Yes. Now, did we have any other questions come in?
Yes. Well, we've had earlier on, before we started the session, we did have some questions about how to improve pronunciation.
Yes.
So
okay, that's a really, of course, we're talking about speaking, of course. That's an important question that comes up again and again. Now, a lot of my students ask me whether they have to sound British, okay, because we are Cambridge Assessment. Well, we are proud to be in the UK and part of Cambridge University, but we provide international language exams. So you do not have to sound British. You also do not have to sound American. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to sound like a native speaker. You can have an accent. But the important thing is that you can be easily understood. Okay, so you can have an accent, but the examiners need to understand you easily. And of course, in order to do that, you need to practice your pronunciation. So there's different ways you can do this. Now, one way of doing it is by choosing a clip, maybe from a TV program or from YouTube. Now, there are two things that you need in that clip. First of all, it needs to be in English. Doesn't matter if it's American English, British English, Australian English, doesn't matter. It needs to be in English, and it needs to have English subtitles. So, SJ, let's imagine you want to practice.
Okay.
What kind of TV program do you like watching?
I like Star Trek, and I recently enjoyed Star Trek Discovery.
Star Trek Discovery. Okay, great. You've got to help me out here because I know nothing about Star Trek. Okay, so let's imagine you found a little clip, Star Trek clips where people are talking.
Yeah, and I need And I should pick one person?
Yes, pick one person. Pick one character you like. Who are you going to pick?
Michael Burnham, who is the star of the show, and she's quite unusual. So.
Oh, okay. Michael is a woman.
Michael is a woman.
Okay,
yes.
Michael is a woman. All right. So SJ has chosen Michael out of Star Trek Discovery. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And let's just imagine. So SJ has found a little clip, just a few minutes long. It can be where Michael is giving a monologue or is part of a dialogue. It doesn't matter. But she needs to speak. It's important. So SJ watches the clip and has the subtitles on in English, and reads along. Okay, so the first time you do it, you just read along.
Okay.
Then you do it again, and you try and really read it exactly as the same time as the character, Michael in this case, is speaking. Okay. And then you do it again, and you really try and imitate the actors or the actor's voice. So when she goes up with her voice, you go up with your voice.
Okay.
When she goes down, you go down.
Okay.
You try to you just basically really try to copy exactly how she's saying it.
Okay.
You know, not just what she says, but how she's saying it.
Okay.
Now, depending how good you are at this, it might take you 3, 4, 5, 10 times.
Right.
And then you turn the sound off.
Okay.
You get your little voice recorder out.
Right.
Right. And you record yourself, saying the lines, being the actress in that case.
Okay.
And then you can listen back and, I've just seen somebody wants to do Downton Abbey. Do it. That'd be fantastic. So, and then then you are the actor or the actress in that moment. And can you do it as well as them? Okay, that's a really nice way of just working on pronunciation, not worrying about anything else, just really getting into the whole, intonation and stress patterns of the words. And it sometimes helps, I think, if you are somebody else, if you're a different character, it can help you sort of be a bit less shy. And be brave about it. So that's one way. It'll take you, half an hour, 20 minutes at home to do this. But again, you can do it at any time at home. You can do it with any clip you like. If you like Star Trek, like SJ, do it with Star Trek. If you like Downton Abbey, do it with that. Sherlock Holmes, somebody said, yeah, nice idea. Okay, so there's lots of different programs that you can choose, or YouTube clips.
If you don't know how to get the subtitles up, quite often on YouTube, for example, it's closed captions. So you can click on a little icon which has CC in it, and then you can choose to turn it on or off. And it's the same in a lot of American TV shows. Subtitles are also known as closed captions.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah, they're closed because it means that you can switch them on and off. So closed or open. Open captions are when they're on the screen all the time.
Okay. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah. So it might be called subtitles or closed captions, depending which device you're watching it on.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a high-tech way of working on your pronunciation. We also have a more old-fashioned way.
I can see what's coming.
Yeah, I think. Well, I bet lots of you do this. Tongue twisters. Tongue twisters.
My favorite.
Okay, so what's a tongue twister? I'll give you one. Red lorry, yellow lorry. Okay. How quickly can you say it 3 times in a row?
3 times in a row. Okay. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red, yellow. Yet.
Exactly. You need more practice, SJ.
I do with the lorries.
Tongue twisters, hey, they're great practice. They can be good fun. You can challenge your friends. Now, I don't know if all of you know this, but if you Google English tongue twisters and then you put your mother tongue behind it, so you put English tongue twisters for Polish speakers or English tongue twisters for Korean speakers, then it will bring up a lot of tongue twisters that are particularly useful for your mother tongue. So I had a little Google, and I've brought a tongue twister that is particularly useful for Greek students, Italian students, Spanish students. I have a feeling this would be useful for Vietnamese as well. Now, I'm going to show you what it is. Have a look. Oh, further up. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. Have a look at this. This is a bit of a nightmare, I think. So I'm going to get SJ to do it.
Okay. Right. Ice chips, and ice chip ships.
Well done. That was very good. You did that very well. So you can try that at home, or you can try the red lorry, yellow lorry, or you can Google tongue twisters that are useful for your native language. So
well, we've done all our talk tips for today.
Yes, we have.
Now, if you missed any of it, don't worry, because there will be a recording of this available on our Facebook page. So, you can come back anytime and you'll be able to find it.
Yes. And you can, of course, also share it with your friends. But I do wonder, did we get some questions in that we can maybe deal with now? Estebel asked, to be a fluent speaker, does one need to be a fluent listener? Well, these two skills are interlinked, and in the speaking test, you will have to be able to understand the questions. Now, the focus is not the question. So our questions are always fairly simple for every given level. Okay, so in the B2 test, the questions themselves will not be difficult to understand for a B2 student. The answer you give needs to be at B2 level. But yes, I mean, the skills are interlinked, listening and speaking. So it's sort of difficult to completely separate them. But the speaking test is not a listening test, and it's not testing your listening skills. So that's why you don't lose a mark if you ask for the question to be repeated, for example. That is absolutely not a problem. You can do that. We also have, now this is a difficult name to say. Any ideas? Bone, I think.
Mayet?
Yeah, Bhone. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but good luck to you, because you're taking your speaking test tomorrow. So we wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully these tips were useful for you. In part 4 of the speaking test, are candidates supposed to... I didn't quite get that. Here it is. Okay, sorry. In part 4 of the speaking test, are candidates supposed to talk to each other? So part 3 is the interactive task. So in part 3, the examiner will just pose the question, and then the candidates will have to talk to each other. Part 4 is a more general discussion. So the question might not be directed at one candidate. So that you might be asked a question, and then you both can sort of answer. You can interject. So if your partner is answering a question and sort of starting to wind down, don't interrupt. But if they're sort of starting to hesitate, you can kind of say, yes, absolutely, I agree with that, because, and give an answer. But you don't have to. The examiner will prompt you if you're not able to do that. But part 4 is a discussion between the examiner and the two candidates together, all three of them. So I hope that answers your question. In part 3, is it compulsory to speak about all the prompts? No, you absolutely do not have to speak about all the prompts. The prompts are there to help you, not to make things more difficult for you. But the rule that we talked about, listen to the question and answer the question, that still applies. So you do need to talk about some of the prompts, or you need to use at least the prompts to get you somewhere. You don't have to, if you don't get to all of them, that's not important. Okay, but they're there to help you. They're not there to make it more difficult for you. Do the examiners choose the topics? No, the topics are written by experts here in beautiful Cambridge, and everybody around the world does take the same exam. So it's not something that the examiner decides on the day.
We have a couple of other questions here. This one sort of came through, which was tips for improving comprehension.
Oh, but this is for reading. This is a reading question, which I think we're going to deal with another time. So,
okay.
Can you speak about the part where you need to give a description of the pictures? Yes. Okay. So this is part 3. In the B2 test, you are given. Oh, no, sorry. This is part 2. Sorry, you mean part 2, I think. You are given 2 pictures and you need to compare and contrast them. And again, the pictures are very general, usually. They're usually about, they're always about something anyone can talk about. You can describe the picture a little bit, but at B2 level, you are expected to go a little bit beyond that. So if you, let's imagine there's a picture of some children playing in a band or an orchestra, and then a person who is sitting alone somewhere playing the guitar. Okay, so you can obviously say, oh, I see that it looks like a school orchestra to me. So you speculate, you don't know all the information, it's just a photo. And it looks like they're rehearsing, maybe they're rehearsing for a performance. And in the second picture, I see there is just a teenager by himself playing the guitar. But then, and this is the important thing, then you compare and contrast. So this is where your imagination and your thinking comes in again, where you say, I think I would... it looks like the children are having a lot more fun playing together in a group. I think that would be a lovely way to share music with other people. And having said that, actually, the boy playing by himself is also having a really good time and getting better at playing an instrument. So, you just sort of give your opinion about the picture. What is similar? What is different? There are no right or wrong answers. That's very important to know. It's not a question where there will be one answer that's correct. There'll be 1,000 different answers that are correct. Show off your vocabulary and all the great grammar that you know, and your beautiful pronunciation that you've been practicing, and your fillers and your linkers, and that's really the point of it.
Well, should we just run through the 4 tips that we did today?
Yes, absolutely.
So the first tip that we talked about was to
speak up. Yes. So the examiner needs to be able to hear you. So don't mumble, don't talk like this. Don't put your hand in front of your mouth, or
don't look down.
Don't get so shy that you look down and, nobody can hear you anymore. Be brave and speak up. The second tip is to paraphrase. Now, paraphrasing is explaining a word by using different words.
Well, it comes in really handy when you can't remember a particular word. So earlier on in the session, I couldn't remember the word promotion. Mm-hmm. So examples that we gave, if you can't, because I couldn't remember the word promotion, I could have said, I got a better job, which paid more money, and so I celebrated with my colleagues.
Exactly. So that is, you didn't need to use the word promotion in order to answer the question. You could just use different words to say the same thing. Now, the third tip was to answer the question. I know it sounds really obvious, but listen to the question and answer it. Stay on that topic. Don't start talking about something completely different. Also, do not pre-prepare a full answer. That does occasionally happen, that students come in and they will just have an answer memorized and say it, and we've never asked them the question. So, even if it's a beautiful answer, you're not going to get good points. So just listen to the question and answer it. And to help you with that, how do I do this here? You can use phrases to buy you time. So you can say things like, well, that's an interesting question. Let me think about this for a minute. Or you can ask the examiner to repeat the question, or you can repeat the question yourself in your own words, just to buy you a little bit of time to think about how you can best answer this question.
One of the things that did come up was the question you asked me was, what are the benefits what are the advantages of living in a city with lots of tourists? And I think one of the things that stumped me, for example, was I couldn't think of any advantages. So it's perfectly acceptable to say that actually I don't think there are any advantages.
Yeah. You can, just give your honest opinion about the question. You can say, I don't think there are any advantages to this. I just cannot think of any. All I can think about is disadvantages. And then you can give the disadvantages. That's fine.
And speaking of time, we have a question here from Max.
Okay. Can we request to show timer when we're speaking? Well, actually, you don't need to worry about that because the examiner will keep you on time. So they will stop you when your time is up. And that is not a problem. Okay, so during your long-term turn in part 2, if the examiner says to you, okay, thank you very much, that just means you've reached the time limit, and it doesn't matter that you haven't finished that particular thought or whatever sentence yet. That's absolutely fine. So don't worry about that. So just keep talking until they tell you to stop, basically. So you don't need to worry about the time. The same with the discussion, the collaborative task, part 3. Because you don't need to talk about every single prompt, again, you don't really need to worry about the timing in the exam. Just keep talking to your partner, and the examiner will stop you when your time is up. Again, same question. Anna, hi, I'm Anna too. If we don't have enough time to mention all the points in part 3, will we get less points? No, you will not. It is absolutely fine not to speak about all the prompts. Speak about the ones that you get to. Don't worry about every single one of them. You also don't need to do them in any particular order. Okay, so you can choose. They're there to help you. They're not there to make your life more difficult. So don't worry. If there's 5 prompts and you get to 2 of them, that's fine. Do phrasal verbs and chunk make a good impression on the examiner? Well, this is an interesting question, and I get these types of questions a lot. Now, there isn't one particular grammar point or one particular word or phrase or phrasal verb that will magically get you a good mark, okay, or that will impress the examiner. Now, phrasal verbs are great if you use them appropriately, but they're not better than other verbs, okay? There is no particular advantage or disadvantage to using them. So any vocabulary you use is great vocabulary as long as you use it appropriately, okay? So if you use a lot of slang, or that's probably not really appropriate for a speaking test. Or if you say to the examiner something like, yeah, thanks bro, or something like that, that's just not appropriate. So it's not bad. It's not a bad word, but it's just not appropriate.
Okay.
So
I've just been told by our colleague that we have 10 more minutes to run. So we're going to be wrapping up soon.
Okay.
So if you've missed any of the recording today, any of the live session today, it's going to be on our Facebook page, and it's being recorded as we speak right now. So you will be able to come back to it at any time. So just come down and find it.
I've just seen there was a question about topics in the speaking paper. Well, particularly for B2, there isn't a list of topics, but all of the topics that we use are very general, and they are trialed to make sure that they are of interest to everybody. So we will never ask you a question about something really specific, or current affairs or anything like that, something where you have to have some specialist knowledge to answer them. The topics will always be asked in a way that you can just have your own ideas and give your own opinions. So it's important for the first exam, for all of our exams in general. It's very important to learn vocabulary, to talk about and read and write and listen to a whole range of general topics. They are general English exams. They're not specialist English exams. So, there are things like the environment, music, sports, hobbies, jobs, cooking, but the general. So if I didn't say a certain topic now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to test it. Okay, it's just general topic. Living in a city versus living in a country, in the countryside, things like that.
I can see that we quite a number of you are actually taking the test very, very soon. So
very good.
Good luck to Anna, who has a test in a few weeks.
Okay, good luck, Anna.
Good luck
I hope it goes well.
Yeah, we have 5 more minutes, so we'll just do a quick wrap up now.
Yeah.
So we've done 4 major tips. So
yes.
It was speak up,
paraphrase. Listen to the
answer the question.
Yeah, listen to the question and answer it. Use phrases to buy your time and avoid repetition.
Well, we should specify that it's avoid repetition in your answer, but do repeat practicing.
Your answer.
So if you were talking about a particular topic and you can talk about that topic and you can just repeat that, and that sort of helps you with practicing.
Yeah. Oh, this is a question. I don't know who asked this. Will you be stopped if you use obscene language? Well, I would strongly encourage you not to use obscene language. I think that is very inappropriate for a speaking test. And I don't know how an examiner would react, but I personally wouldn't react positively to that. So I think you want to make a good impression. And so that's not one way of doing it. Now, we've said before, this video will be available on the Facebook page, even when the live session ends. We hope you found it useful, and please tell us if you found it useful, and share it with your friends who are preparing. And do we have anything else to say? Or
I think... good luck.
Yes, and of course, good luck. Sorry, Liz reminded us there. And good luck if you're taking the exam anytime soon or even next year in 2018.
We hopefully will be doing another live session. And thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
But watch out for any news about the next live session if we do end up doing it. If we do it, it's going to be in January, but we'll make sure that we'll have lots of posts and promotions and you'll be able to see it. And you'll have plenty of time to lead up to that so that you can send us any questions that you might want us to answer during the session. Or if there are any examples you'd like us to demonstrate.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be quite good too.
If you have specific questions, just ask us. Yeah. Okay.
So, and we will...
The top tips will be on our Facebook page. Is that what you're saying, Liz?
We post top tips on our Facebook page.
Yes, we do. Of course we do. We post top tips.
Completely forgot. Yeah. Of course we do.
We post top tips on our Facebook page all the time. So, make sure you follow and like the page. I think that's the best way of getting all of our posts. And thank you so much for joining us and taking part and asking such fantastic questions.
Yes.
And I just wish you all the best for your exam.
Do let us know how the session was for you.
Yes.
I saw that there were a couple of teachers there who were watching with their entire class.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if you could give us your feedback on that. And it's always great for us to know. Okay. And we can do the next session better.
Exactly.
All right.
So thank you for joining us, and thank you for your
best
feedback.
Best of luck to everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.